for a moment. I know, it's the kiss of death. Page 950. This is chapter The Field of Cornwall. Notice before Sauron falls, who shows up? This is actually 948. The eagles come before Sauron falls. The eagles come and start harrying the Nazgul before Sauron falls, before the ring is destroyed. So it's kind of interesting that the Nazgul flee from the eagles before they lose their will to fight and such. But the eagles show up, etc. And that's when there's the earthquake, and Gandalf says, that's it, Sauron has fallen. He calls Gwaihir, and we're taken, meanwhile, back at the erupting volcano, page 950. Frodo says, I'm glad you're here with me. Here at the end of all things, Sam. I don't know about you, but every time I read that as Frodo saying, I'm glad we're going to die together, Sam. I'm glad I'm not all alone dying. Sam, yes, I am with you, Master. And you're with me, and the journey's finished. That is, the quest is achieved. Yay, us. But after coming all that way, I don't want to give up yet. It's not like me somehow. If you understand. Frodo, maybe not, Sam. That is, you're right, Sam. It's not like you. But it's like things are in the world. Very interesting phrasing, because that's very similar to what Tolkien says in that fairy story essay about creative fantasy. Creative fantasy is founded upon the hard recognition that things are so in the world as it appears under the sun. That is, life sucks. Creative fantasy, Tolkien says, recognizes that. One of the big slams at creative fantasy is it's what? What does everybody say about, oh, you're reading Harry Potter? Oh, you're reading, it's escapism. It's, oh, you can't deal with the problems of the real world. Tolkien says exactly the opposite. Creative fantasy is based upon the real problems of the real world. And The Lord of the Rings kind of touches on that. When we get into Harry Potter, it's like she's just got a checklist. Problems in the real world. And she's checking them off. Okay? So, Frodo, it's like things are in the world. What's he mean? People die. People die in bad situations. When I woke up this morning, I got on the news, heard about the tornado. At that point, they were saying 5 dead. Now it's 9 dead. Got a text from my wife. Daughter of a friend of hers is one of those dead. I mean, hopes fail. Wow. An end comes. We have only a little time to wait now. What do you mean to wait now? Let's kind of get comfortable here. Because the mountain's rumbling and the hot stuff is, we are lost in ruin and downfall, and there is no escape. Now, bear in mind what has happened. The quest has been achieved. And Frodo's thinking, yay, we've achieved the quest. The rest of the world is safe. He left saying, or he told Gandalf, what? I want to take the ring away from here. Why? I want to preserve the Shire. I want to leave the Proudfoots, the Hornblowers, the blah, 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 so that they can all stay fat, dumb, and happy hobbits and not have to face what he's going to have to face. So, yay, saved. I got to die, but okay. Sam. Well, Master, we could at least go further from this dangerous place here. In other words, we could buy a few more minutes. Yeah, from this crack of doom, if that's its name, couldn't we? Come, Mr. Frodo, let's go down the path at any rate. Let's get away from the sulfurous fumes and everything. Very well, Sam, if you wish to go, I'll come. No, okay, fine. But we're going to die. We're going to die anyways. And so they go on down. Notice what wouldn't happen. This is why I'm spending longer than what I planned. If they hadn't left, they wouldn't be seen. If they were still inside the mountain, Gandalf and Gwaihir with his literal eagle eyes would never see him. But because they do see two little insect-like figures crawling down, okay? So, Sam starts to talk about the tale of Frodo, the nine-figure, blah, 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 and Gwaihir and Gandalf come, and they are rescued. Okay? Now we're going to skip a bunch. We saw Faramir and Éowyn. We saw the part of the partings, not all of them. They go to Isengard and find out Saruman is left. Pages 983 and following. Okay? They catch up with Saruman. And Saruman, responds to Gandalf, and Gandalf says, "Where are you going?" He said, "You want to order on my..." No. And he said, "And if you had waited at Orthanc for the new king," top of 983, "he would have shown you wisdom and mercy." All the more reason to have left Sirda. I don't need anybody's mercy. All right? So, he sees the hobbits with him, with Gandalf. Right? All four of them. And he says, "You've all got what you want. You've got food, fine clothes, best weed for your pipes." See, he doesn't say pipe weed, it's just weed, "Oh, yes, I know. I know where it comes from. That is, I know where you got that from." Which is where?
The Shire.
No, not the Shire.
Isengard.
They got it from Isengard. Isengard got it from where? The Shire. Okay? Even before, okay, Isengard was destroyed. Isengard was already trading with people in the Shire. Any wild guesses as to possibly who? Who does Sam not like? Ted Sandyman, the miller. Okay, and we can talk. No, we can't. If we had more time, we could talk about that later. Has something to do with Tolkien's childhood and where he grew up. Okay. Anyways. "You would not give a pipeful to a beggar, would you?" Frodo, "I would, if I had any." Okay, pipeful to a beggar. That is a pipeful of tobacco to a beggar who wants tobacco. Giving that to that beggar would be a giving of alms. It's something to make the beggar feel better. Okay? Frodo, "I don't have any." "Merry, you can have what I have got left. That is all that I have. It's yours." That's very Catholic. It's very Christian. You're welcome to it. It came from the flotsam of Isengard. So he's kind of going, you can have it back. It was yours to begin with. Okay? So, they keep talking. And they talk about, as they leave, they talk about Saruman. And Frodo says, after talking about Saruman, "I'm going to Rivendell, wherever else happens." Gandalf, "Yeah, I think you'd better do that. But alas for Saruman, I fear nothing more can be made of him." That is, Saruman can't be made into anything more than what he is now. Now, if you remember, back at the Voice of Saruman, when Gandalf went up and talked with Saruman, what did he tell him? When he makes him come back, it says, "I'm not Gandalf the Grey anymore, I'm Gandalf the White." And he tells Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli, "I am Saruman as he ought to have been, or as he ought to have become." This idea that even among the Istari, you rise to a different level. This is going to be really important when we segue into the Harry Potter novels. The Lord of the Potters. Okay? Or the Potter ring. Anyways, Gandalf goes on. "He has withered altogether. All the same, I'm not sure Treebeard is right. I fancy he can still do some mischief." All right? So they go on. Let's skip a bunch. They get to Rivendell. They see Bilbo. They leave Bilbo homeward bound. And they get to Prancy Pony. And they talk to Barlaam Butterbur. And what is Barlaam surprised to discover? Who's the new king? Strider. The guy who used to hang out in the back of the pub, dressed in stained, smelly clothes. Him? Him. What's more important about that? Bree is now part of what? It's part of the Northern Kingdom. It is in the old realm of Aenor, okay? And Gandalf's kind of saying, yeah, he'll be up in a while to check on things, okay? That's when, the next morning, Gandalf says, you've forgotten about Saruman, page 996. He took an interest in the Shire before Mordor did. Mary, yeah, but you're going to solve all that for us, right? Nice thing about having a magician. Gandalf, no, I'm not. And that's when he implies everything that has happened to them in the last 9-10 months has happened for one purpose, to prepare them for going back to the Shire. In other words, it's all been training. It's all been spring camp. Now it's the big leagues. Okay? He says, I'm turning aside. I'm going to have a long talk with Bombadil. Such a talk as I have not had in all my time. Now, in all my time means from when I first came into Middle-earth. He is a moss gatherer. That is, he doesn't move. He stays still. And I have been a stone doomed to rolling, but my rolling days are ended, and now we shall have much to say to one another. Probably like, would you have taken the ring? Would that have made it easier? So we get chapter 8, Scouring of the Shire, which we're not going to talk about other than the very, very end. Okay? Pages 1018, 1019. Now, this is the chapter, if you listen to watch the one lecture, the very first one where I talk about the foreword, where Tolkien says, kind of in response to some queries he's had, this chapter was foreseen from the beginning. That is, he knew when he started writing Lord of the Rings, this would be important. This would be necessary. Because a lot of writers, people who written him letters, suggested, oh, this is all because of what happened in England after the Second World War. In other words, Tolkien didn't come up with the idea for the Scouring of the Shire until 1946, 47, 48. He says, nope, I had the idea for that in 1938, before the Second World War even broke out. Why? Because it happens after every war. Tom Wolfe famously wrote, you can never go back home again. Why? Home changes. You change. You know, who was it? Wordsworth? Yeah, Wordsworth says in one of his poems, the child is the father of the man. We tend to think, what? That's kind of backwards. The man is the father of the child. Is he? Where does the man come from? The child. And in that same poem, he kind of implies, I am not the person I was. Hopefully, none of you 30 years from now will be who you are now. Hopefully, you will not be like a mossy stone. You will be like a Rowling. You will have grown and developed, etc., etc. Okay? So, that's the problem with Saruman, by the way. It's one of the problems with Saruman. He gets frozen. He gets frozen on a single idea. The ring, the ring. Okay? Gandalf doesn't. Gandalf's more fluid. He kind of, rolls with the times, moves with the punches, so to speak. So, they meet up with Saruman, bottom of 1018. And Saruman laughs at them and said, ha, you thought Gandalf would solve all your problems, didn't you? Not he. When his tools have done their task, he drops them. Notice what he's trying to do about their understanding, their impressions of Gandalf.
They're trying to say that he's just used them as a tool. He's done with you, so he's just abandoning you.
Exactly. He's trying to make them feel, well, Gandalf shouldn't have abandoned us. He should be here with us now. but you must go dangling after him, dawdling and talking, etc., etc. So he says, still, I've already done much that you will find it hard to mend or undo in your life. That is, I have so messed up the Shire that by the time you die, you won't be able to repair all the damage. And it will be pleasant to think of that and set it against my injuries. What do you mean, set it against my injuries?
Compare it.
A balance. What are his injuries? Well, he's no longer in Isengard.
Everything he lost.
He no longer rules at the Tower of Orthanc. He no longer has a Palantir. Okay? Those are all of his injuries on one side of the scale. So he says, I effed up your land. Hasn't totally, balanced things out. He's going to get his own taste of karma in a moment, if you want to go all karma-y. Frodo, if that's what you find pleasure in, I pity you. Notice, what does Saruman say he takes pleasure in? Their what? Close. Their pain. He takes pleasure in their pain. What kind of sick, twisted person takes pleasure in someone else's pain? A sick, twisted person. Okay? We're going to see that in the Harry Potter novels. We're going to hear about Death Eaters, at a sporting event. Keeping people upside down, twirling the mother so that her undergarments show, and she's horrified by that. And they get their jollies down. And Harry's like, man, that's just sick. What kind of person would do that? And they're like, come on, Harry, open your eyes. This is reality. Okay? So, Frodo, I pity you. It will be a pleasure of memory only, I fear. Why of memory only? Yeah, because you're leaving. Right now. You've just been evicted. All right? Go at once, never return. That's kind of a command. Notice it's not a deep voice coming from a wheel of fire. It's just little old Frodo. The hobbits of the villages had seen Saruman come out of one of the huts, and at once they came crowding up the door. When they heard Frodo's command, they murmured, oh, don't let him. Oh, kill him. He's a villain and a murderer. Kill him. What? Why does Tolkien do that? Why does Tolkien have nice, wonderful, peaceful little leprechaun-y people suffer from bloodlust?
Mob justice exists.
Mob justice. I could pull up half a dozen videos right now of mob justice that has nothing to do with people killing people. It has to do with people not liking what somebody else says. Okay? And that person gets mobbed by all these other people, supposedly tolerant people. Okay? Don't kill him. Don't let him go. Kill him. Saruman looks around. Kill him. If you think there are enough of you, my brave hobbits. And he drew himself up and stared at it. What does that mean, he drew himself up? He stood up tall, and he's like 3 times the height of them. Okay? Do not think that when I lost all my goods, I lost all my power. Whoever strikes me shall be accursed. And the hobbits go, whoo. And Frodo, oh, he's lying. Do not believe him. He has lost all power save his voice, and that can still daunt you and deceive you if you let it. If you don't let it, what's it mean? He can tempt you if you allow it. So don't allow it. But I will not have him slain. It is useless to meet revenge with revenge. Go back to the shadow of the past. He is only an enemy. He deserves death, Frodo said about God. Gandalf deserves it. I dare say he does. Many that live deserve to die. Many that die deserve life. Can you give it to them? Then do not be too eager to deal out death in judgment. Notice what Frodo's doing here. He's not dealing out death at all. He's saying, Don't touch him. Revenge will do no good. Why? What is revenge? Let me rephrase that. Think of revenge in response or in along with the last debate. Gandalf says their victory will not come how? Militarily. A military response is what? It's revenge. It might be justified, but it's revenge. Okay? He's saying no good will come of that. It will heal nothing. Notice Frodo's whole focus at this point. Healing. Why? I have not much hope that Gollum can be cured before the end, but there is some. We'll talk about that in just a moment. It will heal nothing. Go, Saruman. And Saruman calls, Worm, Worm, and here out comes Wormtongue. Okay? Saruman turns to go. Wormtongue shuffles after him. And even as Saruman passed close to Frodo, a knife flashed in his hand. He stabs, and Frodo's still wearing his mithril coat. Sam gets ready to kill him. No, Sam, no, do not kill him, even now. I mean, that was attempted murder. Come on. Let me at least hurt him. You know, I think it's probably going through Sam's mind. For he has not hurt me, and in any case, I do not wish him to be slain in this evil mood. What do you mean, evil mood? Out of anger? Out of revenge? Could be. Evil mood, though, kind of implies I don't wish him to be evilly killed. If he's going to be killed, let it be an act of justice. All right? He was great, and then he says this. He was great once, of a noble kind that we should not dare to raise our hands against. Now, of a noble kind, what does he mean? He was a wizard. He was an Astari. He was a Maya. He was a god to us. We should... Not our problem. God, let the gods deal with you. Okay? That's why he says, we should not dare to even raise our hands against him. He is fallen, and his cure is beyond us. It's not in our ability, our capacity to heal him. But, huge but, I would still spare him in the hope that he may find it. What would Saruman's cure do? What would it mean for him? His restoration. He would no longer be the bitter old man that he is. Instead, he would be what? He'd be kind of like Gandalf.
He'd be white again.
He'd have wisdom. He'd have mercy. He'd have justice. Right? Notice, in the hope that he may find it. And look at Saruman's response. You have grown, halfling. Notice the little kind of pun there. You have grown. Yes, you have grown very much, not physically. You are wise and cruel. Does Frodo intend to be cruel? Is he going, no, let's let him live. Let's hope that he finds his cure. Why? Because that'll be like a knife in him. No, it's not what Frodo's doing. It's cruel from his perspective. Why?
We've talked a lot about people wanting to die valiantly, and
well, this wouldn't be a valiant death.
But my point is that like there's a lot of focus on like how you die and what state you're in and whatnot, and I feel like Saruman just is tired and wants everything to be over.
Very close.
I think Saruman's revenge would have been sweeter if Frodo would have let the hobbits kill him, because that would have changed the Shard's dynamic way more.
Absolutely.
Think of what it would do to Sam.
Oh, yeah.
Here, think of this. Think Sam would become a killer, go from this to Harry Potter novels. What do we find out? End of Harry Potter novels. What happens to you when you kill someone? When you murder someone.
You're
Yeah,
so
don't say it out loud. Just think it to yourself in case somebody hasn't read them yet. Okay? Because I'll give it up soon enough. But okay?
You'll probably mention it in like the first or second.
It would be the impact on Sam or the hobbits. It would change them. Why? Because you can't go back. You can't go back to becoming an unmurderer. Once you kill, you kill. Period. So, he says, you have robbed my revenge of sweetness, and now I must go hence in bitterness. Why in bitterness? In debt to your mercy. He thinks at this point, live out the rest of his life as what? A beggar. A beggar. Why? Because of the damn mercy of that little freaking halfling. I hate it. Mercy. And you. Well, I go, and I will trouble you no more. Do not expect me to wish you health and long life. You're going to have neither. Kind of, you will have not health and long life. Trying to use a spell, right? Wormtongue, Frodo says. You don't have to follow him. You've not done anything to me. You can stay here. You can have rest and food until you're stronger. You can go your own ways. Notice, he's giving Wormtongue the opportunity to turn. Okay? And Saruman says, really? Where do you think Lotho is? Worm got hungry. Wormtongue ate your cousin. Oh. Okay? So, Worm says, Worm killed your chief, poor little fellow, nice little boss. Ooh, I shouldn't, that's right. Chief was Lotho, that wasn't. All right, whoever got those two. So, what does Wormtongue kills him? And then they kill Wormtongue. They, not Frodo, not Sam, the other hobbits. Nameless hobbits. You know, we don't get their faces on video. They go on, you know. So,
on social hobbit media.
What happens to Saruman when he dies? He goes all Darth Vader-y. He goes all Obi-Wan Kenobi, you know, empty cloak, dust. Why? Maiar, that's why. Okay? Chapter 9, Grey Havens. So, a few years go by. Sam marries Rosie Cotton. Frodo finishes the book, okay, that Bilbo had started. The Downfall of the Lord of the Rings and the Return of the King. If I remember right, that's the title that Tolkien actually wanted for the whole thing. Actually, no, take it back. The title he wanted for the whole thing was The War of the Ring. And publisher said, nope, and this is what he did. Okay? So, Frodo and Sam go off for a ride in the woods one spring, and they make their way to the Grey Havens. Page 1029. He tells Sam where he's going, and Sam says, I can't come. No, Sam, not yet anyway, not further than the Havens. Though you too were a ring bearer, if only for a little while, your time may come. Don't be sad, Tim. Do not be too sad, Sam. You cannot be always torn in two. You will have to be one and whole for many years. Frodo is saying, by the way, in that he is torn. He can never be whole here. You have too much to enjoy and to be and to do. What does he have to enjoy? Wife, family, to be mayor of Hobbiton. I believe he's elected 11 times, 9 times, something like that. Okay. And to do garden. Sam, but I thought you were going to enjoy the Shire too. Sam's saying, I thought that's what the whole thing was for. So I thought too once. But I've been too deeply hurt, Sam. I tried to save the Shire. It has been saved, but not for me. It must often be so, Sam, when things are in danger. Someone has to give them up. Lose them. Sacrifice. Self-sacrifice. So that others may keep them. But everything I have, it's yours. Okay? So now he rides with him. And they see Elrond and Galadriel. Why? Because they're leaving. All the elves are going to leave Middle Earth, okay, for the most part. And they get there. Merry and Pippin show up. Gandalf says, thought it would be better for 3 to ride back than 1 to ride back alone. So they all leave, go off on the ships. Bottom of 1030, top of 1031. No, I take it back. Top of 1031. They ride back. They get over the downs, took the east road. Merry and Pippin go off to Buckland. So from Brandywine, or from Buckland, essentially, Sam has to ride by himself. And we get this. Sam turned to Bywater, so came back up the hill. As day was ending once more, he went on. There was, notice, we get this from a distance. He's riding up the hill, and there's young light and fire within. The light is coming through the windows and probably through the open door, and the light is caused by the fire. And the evening meal was ready, and he was expected. How? I've never understood. How was he expected? Did somebody, send a tweet to Rosie so that she knew? Did the eagles drop a mess? Radagast ride his wonderful sleigh driven by mice and,
Woman's intuition.
And Rosie, notice this language, drew him in. What does that mean? Think about that image. She's where?
In the house.
She's standing at the door. Why? She's waiting. She's waiting. Sam gets there. She pulls him in. All right? And puts him in his big old easy chair and puts his daughter on his lap. And what do we have there the image of? That is the ideal of domestic bliss. I don't mean the ideal because the man is sitting and the woman is standing. No. But it is the ideal because they're all together and happy. This is joy. This is bliss. Right? And he says, I'm back. Why in this 8,000 long word, more than that, novel with I'm back? What does it imply?
Well, ever since they left the Shire, they wanted to get back to how it used to be, I guess. 'Cause when they did finally get back to the Shire, it wasn't their home.
It wasn't home. And Sam has turned it into, and notice where it is. It's Mr. Bilbo's house. It's Mr. Frodo's house. And now it's Mr. Gamgee's house. And you can imagine the gaffer, his father, has probably moved in. He's got one of the little side tunnels off to himself, etc. Petra, did you have a comment or question?
Yeah, I was trying to find it, but there's also that one line where Sam says, when he first wakes up, and he sees Gandalf, and he says, "Is everything sad coming untrue?"
Yes. When he wakes up at the chapter of the Fields of Cormorant. Yeah. Pretty important. Okay, so let's go back for just one moment. Gollum. What did Gollum mean? Possibly. And this will probably take me half an hour. It won't. What did Gollum mean when he said, page 944, lost, we're lost, and when precious goes, we'll die, yes, die into the dust. And that's Frodo. Oh, Lord. Followed by, towards the bottom of that page, Sam looking at Gollum and understanding how Gollum feels because Sam has borne the ring himself. And Sam thinking, Gollum enslaved to that ring, unable to find peace or relief ever in life again. Where could Tolkien have ended that sentence? Ever. Or ever again. But he throws in that little prepositional phrase, in life. Tolkien is such a perfectionist. I don't think he leaves any words in accidentally. And so when he throws in life, I think he's wanting to suggest Gollum might find peace where?
In death.
How? I don't have much to go on, but I think how? How? But how? What I mean is how does he find that peace, quote unquote, in the afterlife?
Be free from the ring.
He won't be a slave anymore to
He
them.
won't be a slave, but because he's the one who destroys it.
Yeah, that's good.
He's the one who destroys his precious. He's the one who destroys by destroying the precious. Was there Smeagol / Gollum before the precious? No, there was only Smeagol. And so what happens when the precious? It's Gollum gets either unified or the Gollum part is destroyed. Okay? And it's almost like, I'm not saying it is, it's a metaphor. It's almost like when Gollum says that, he's saying to Sam, just give me a few more minutes. A few more minutes and it'll all be over with. Your problems will be over with. My problems will be over with. Why? Because I'm going to touch the ring again. And what did the ring say? If you trouble me again, you will yourself be thrown into the cracks of doom. Okay? Does Gollum find his cure? Can death be the cure? It's definitely the end, right? I mean, it's the end of his pain, the end of his suffering. Is it the cure? I don't know, okay? But that leads to, in a way, to this. Think of, if you will, please, now take that back. This is an order.
No thank
This is a command.
you. Go.
Whenever you think of this book, think of it by its real title. Okay? Not its stupid American made up title. And I mean all those words totally seriously. Because this title, The Sorcerer's Stone, came from the first American editor, Arthur A. Levine. All right? Because he told J.K. Rowling, when she was in negotiation, for the rights for him to publish the book, etc. He said American parents will never buy a book for their children with the word philosopher in the title.
I mean, they won't buy it anyway.
Well, there's other reasons. Okay? So, what does he suggest instead of philosopher? Sorcerers. Okay, so which one's better? Let's say if you're, my terminology, probably going to offend somebody, but so what? If you're a rabid fundamentalist, anti any fantasy Christian,
Philosopher.
okay?
They have
Which
philosopher.
word is going to be worse? This one or this one?
Sorcerer.
Are you more scared of philosophy or sorcerers? Sorcerers. Because the Old Testament law says nothing about don't dabble in philosophy. It says an awful lot about not dabbling in sorcery and magic and witchcraft and divination, all those things, all right? Doesn't say anything about numerancy or arithmancy, okay? But all those other things, all right? So he comes up with this. What's the problem? Other than the wackos. There is no such thing in cultural / world history as a sorcerer's stone. There is such a thing in cultural / world history as a philosopher's stone. And people have been searching for it since about 1000, 1500 BC, and they still are. I got a big old book by either my office or at home, almost as thick as this. And it's called The Philosopher's Stone. And it's all about the search for it, okay? Written by a science writer for the Times paper of London, okay? So, this thing is real in terms of cultural or the history of ideas. What's its purpose? We tend to simplify it. We think it's, oh, I know what that'll do. It'll turn base metal, lead, into gold. Make you rich. And it can give you the elixir of life. Okay? Aqua vitae, water of life, which, by the way, is what the original for the word whiskey means. It's the water of life. If you're a whiskey lover, you got to really like that. Okay? Anyway. So we don't have time for all this. How many of you know the background to how she came up with this?
It was. Didn't she write it on a napkin?
No, that came later.
But it's like a real thing, right? Like a real legend.
The Philosopher's Stone part is the Harry Potter stuff all isn't.
It's kind of like where chemistry.
Yeah.
She was.
Alchemists trying to-
Well, alchemy is very important in this, but real alchemy, not what it gets kind of portrayed as or what's commonly understood as. She was unemployed, unmarried, had a daughter, living on welfare, Scottish welfare, essentially. She was on a train from Manchester, northwestern England, to London. And she'd been a writer ever since she was a kid. She's like one of those people I just hate. Started writing as a little kid, wrote all kinds of stories that nobody will ever read, and wrote some other stuff that nobody ever read because she never got it published. But she was on this train, and one moment, she's just a single, unwed mother living on welfare, and the next moment, she has an idea pop into her head. And that idea is a boy discovers on the morning of his 11th birthday that his parents were murdered by the greatest dark wizard who ever lived, and he wants to kill him. Where the hell did that idea come from? I'm serious. Where do those ideas come from? Where did Tolkien was sitting in his study that summer morning in 1930, 1931, grading entrance exams to Oxford? He turns the page, blank sheet, and in a hole in the ground there lived a hobbit. Did that idea blow in with the wind? Was that idea about a boy who discovers on his 11th birthday, was that a bubble in the air that as she was traveling? And where do literary or ideas of creation come from? It's a huge question. Is it just, the chemical, electrical synapses firing in the brain? Well, if they are, then why her? Why not me? Why not Olivia? Why not Camille? Why not Jocelyn? Why not Jacob?
Because I'm not published yet.
Okay? Because think about this. When she has this idea, I believe it's in 91, because that's when the first book, is that right? Yeah, that's when the first book is set. Right, is that right? 14 million. Yes, it is. Where she's penniless. Within 15 years, she goes from penniless, actually before 15 years, it's within 10 years, I remember it. She goes from penniless to being a billionaire. She goes from penniless to being the wealthiest woman in the United Kingdom. That includes the Queen, by the way. Just wrap your mind around that for a minute. Wealthier than the Queen of England. Okay? Why? Because an idea popped into her head. Why her? What? It's a pretty interesting conundrum, if you want. So, She starts writing this story, and she gets it finished. She has it all written out. She's got boxes of notes. By the time she's done with this, she has 7 legal-sized boxes full of notes, one for each book in the series, because she knows this is going to take 7 books. She knows that from the beginning. She says in interviews, there's a reason for that. C.S. Lewis's Chronicles of Narnia is 7 books. And she knew it would be 7 books, because Chronicles of Narnia is one of her favorite series of books, she says. Cool, fine, all right? So she sends it to a publisher and gets a rejection. She sends it to a publisher, gets a rejection. She sends it to a publisher, gets a rejection. Depending upon the source you find, she receives somewhere between, I think it's 14 to 21 rejections. And then she sends it to Bloomsbury, British publisher. And the acquisitions editor that it gets sent to, or that the manuscript gets put in their inbox, looks at it and says, I think we should take a shot on this. And it has a very, very small initial print run. I think the initial print run is only like 3,500 or 4,000 copies. I mean, that's like, we don't want to waste any money. So no artwork. I mean, none of this. This all comes later. Okay. No artwork, no advertising, none. I mean, it's just printed and it gets sent off to bookstores and they put it in their children's
Not
section.
up into the world.
Okay.
How much do those copies cost now?
Oh, if you get one of those original 3,500 print run, it's in the tens of thousands. Tens of thousands. If you get one of the ones that she signed, it's even more. Anyways. And people start to buy it. They see it, buy it for a kid, give it to the kid. The kid reads it, gives it to his or her friend. They read it, say, Mommy, I want one. And they buy it, and those 3,500 sell out. So they print another copy. They do another print run. And it sells out. Okay? Cool. They've broken even, essentially. So that's in 1997. 1998, the second book out. Second book comes out, Chamber of Secrets. No advertising again. All right. 1999, Prisoner of Azkaban comes out. Now it's being advertised. It's either 98 or 99 that I first heard about it. I was driving in from work. I don't know if I said this in this class before. Driving into work one day, back when I still listened to NPR, and they had on the NPR London bureau chief, a guy named T.R. Reid. And he was talking about this great new series, British fiction for children, blah, blah, blah. And he compared it to another great British series of books, C.S. Lewis's Chronicles of Narnia. Only he said it's not like that staid and snobby and, Christian-y C.S. Lewis. And because I taught C.S. Lewis, I taught a course on the Inklings, etc. I just mentally went, okay, and blanked it out. That must have been 98. Spring of 99, I was shopping one day at Sam's, and there's Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, and the brand new Prisoner of Azkaban. And I said, oh, that's that book T.R. Reid was talking about. Didn't have this cover. And I opened it up, and I read the first paragraph, and I was hooked. I don't know why, but I was hooked. Bought it, went home, read it overnight, read it that evening, went back the next day, bought the next 2. Started using it the next semester in my classes, okay? That's what happened. People either were immediately hooked or just the opposite. Immediately repelled. Here's an example of my being immediately repelled. When it first came out, George R.R. Martin's HBO, Game of Thrones, thank you. That's how bad I didn't like it. Very first book, Song of Fire and Ice, came out. I think that's it. I had brand new, first edition, first printing. I tried to read that sucker probably 3 or 4 times. I think the farthest I got was maybe 150 pages and finally said. My son eventually read it. He eventually read most of them. I got rid of that. Yeah, stupid. Hello, that's me. I've done that with several other things where I've had first editions, first printings. I don't really like that. Gotten rid of it, and everybody else does. Could have made a lot of money. Okay? Anyway, so she writes a book a year. 97, 98, 99, 2000. And then what happens?
Takes a while longer.
Then we have to wait 3 years. From 2000 to 2003. And what book comes out in 2003? Goblet of, no. Order of the Phoenix. And we go from kind of like 2 of these to this.
It's like I made up the lost time. Here you go.
Why? Why is Order of the Phoenix so much bigger?
You said they had changed the standards for New York Times bestseller.
That's one thing that happened.
Did she get more money for a word?
Well, like the ending of the Goblet of Fire just opened up like a huge. It completely changed the tone of the rest of the book. Like things got serious. It was no longer like this children's story with magic.
Very much so. First 3 books, and this is why we're going to zip through the first 3 books. The first 3 books are world building, for most part. She's introducing us to a lot of stuff. Okay, we get some of the laws of the books or the world that she creates that later get broken because it's like she's forgotten some things. Okay, and I'll apologize right now if you think J.K. Rowling is the greatest thing to happen to the printed word. No, no, she's not a great writer. She is a great storyteller. Tolkien is a great writer. But he took 17 years to write The Lord of the Rings. She gets all these done in, 15 years. Because she starts writing this in 91. She finishes the last book in spring of 2007. Okay? So, first 3 are pretty light, right? The last 3 are pretty dark. Notice number 4. It's the hinge. It's the linchpin. That is, think of it as a door, okay? And you got 1 through 3 on this side. 4, 5, 6, 7. 1 through 3 point to 4. 5, 6, 7 flow from 4. 4 is the really, really important one, even though she does tell us there's something also really, really important in book 2. Which we find when we get to the end of it, okay? We don't really understand the importance of it until we get to the end, King's Cross, book 7, right? So, what's the darkest thing that happens in any of these? What's the worst thing? Ginny kind of dying, but not really, because she's only mostly dead, and Harry brings her back with a miracle vaccine and a magic pill.
Well, yeah, I mean, she's possessed and like forced to kill chickens. For me, that's the
Okay.
People get hurt and injured in them, but no one gets seriously injured or dies.
No one gets seriously injured or dies. We meet people who have died, right? Nearly headless Nick. Not headless Nick, nearly headless. Now, for him, that's a horrible thing. And he's been nearly headless for 500 years in book 2. Okay? We meet Moaning Myrtle, right? Become important a little bit later. But nobody dies. How do all these 3 begin? Literally, where are we? Number 4, Privet Drive.
The Burrow.
Nope.
There is no one.
Oh, graveyard. Right.
Tom Riddle's house.
Oh, yeah.
Okay?
He's having his dream.
He's dreaming, or is he?
Well, yeah. He thinks he's dreaming.
He thinks he's dreaming, but we see this begins with what?
Murder.
It begins with a murder. We don't even see a murder here. We hear in this one about somebody who murdered a bunch of muggles, right? Peter Pettigrew, several years earlier, okay? And then we see a murder here, and then what do we get at the end?
A murder.
We get another murder, and then we get this book ending. And by the way, and then this one ends with what? It's kind of implying the war is about to begin. So Harry's thinking all hell's going to break loose, and all hell doesn't break loose when book 5 opens. And Harry doesn't know why. But book 6 opens, all hell has broken loose. Okay?
Hell took a little bit of time to load, and then it broke loose.
It was rearing back.
Yeah. Back catalog of Hell number 8.
And if you've never noticed it before, the books have these linkages. It's called an envelope structure. Okay? Book 1 has an awful lot of parallels with book 7. Book 2 has parallels with book 6. Book 3 has parallels with book 5. Book 4 doesn't. Why? Because it's both forward and backward looking. It's, as I said, that hinge. Okay? Just for example, parallel the beginning in the beginning. Harry Potter arrives, number 4, Privet Drive, how?
Maybe
On a
Maybe
motorcycle.
on a motorcycle.
On a motorcycle with Hagrid. Harry Potter leaves, number 4, Privet Drive, how? On a motorcycle with Hagrid. He arrives with nothing. He arrives when he leaves here, don't give it away, with nothing. Okay? Olivia's already.
Must not
It's
spoil.
already happening, because this is going to be like Hamlet. There's just going to be dead bodies strewn everywhere. Okay? Children's story?
Yeah.
Who are they originally intended? Who's this book intended for? Is this book intended for a
11-year-olds.
58-year-old? No. 11-year-old? Maybe. I think my kids started reading them, my eldest at least, because we read them to her, of course, when she was 6 or 7. In fact, the school district, and they can't read that book. It's outside their area. Shut them. Until my kid can read, they can read.
I literally read each book when I was the same age as Harry when they were coming out.
So, yeah, I mean, there's so much I'd like to talk about. We can't because we got to do this book. So we get introduced to the magical world. Describe the Dursleys. To not talk about the magical world.
Painfully average.
Perfectly normal. Thank you very much.
Say that again.
Perfectly normal.
They were perfectly normal. Thank you very much. And what else is said in that paragraph about them?
The last people you'd expect to be involved in anything strange or mysterious.
Not strange or mysterious. Define strange and mysterious. Out of the ordinary.
Weird.
A flying
Weird.
motorcycle.
Flying motorcycle.
People wearing cloaks.
People wearing cloaks. Okay? Awful lot of Vernon Dursley in here. I mean, I used to have people, do you attend those conferences? I've attended one quote-unquote fantasy literature related conference. It's when I was going to kind of interview for this job of becoming editor of a journal. Okay? And there, in my opinion, too many freaks. Too many people coming in with the whole cloaks and everything. This wasn't a Harry Potter. This was like a J.R.R. Tolkien, C.S. Lewis. And people were, coming in like with Elvin. And I'm like,
Guys, calm down. Book.
get real, man. I mean, just reality here. Go Frodo on me. Don't go all.
Then
Anyways,
then they show up on their
So, strange and mysterious. Strange. Outside the ordinary. Uncommon. Because we're going to be told something about Harry is that he has a strange power / ability later on. All right? What about mysterious? What's the root of that? Mystery, right? What's a mystery?
unknown.
Unknown? Well, does that mean 5 minutes from now is a mystery? Because you don't know what's going to happen.
Anything could happen.
Look at the root of that even. Okay? Mist. Okay? What does this imply? This This word, because literarily it's often used to describe what genre of fiction. Who's the greatest mystery writer? Film. Arthur Conan Doyle. He wrote detective fiction, a little bit different. Agatha Christie. Okay. Agatha Christie. Stewart, can't remember her first name. Okay. Whodunits, in other words. How's that different? In a whodunit, what are you doing? You're solving whodunit. And you get the solution at the end. If you want to see a great one, see Knives Out. Absolutely.
Yes.
And then go back and watch the film that it's kind of loosely based on, Sleuth from 1972.
It's playing in the student union this weekend.
Okay. It's also on Amazon, and you can get it for like $10 at Walmart, I think. So, the mystery is different than those. The mystery is something that cannot be resolved. It's not just unknown, right? Because 100 years ago, I don't know, cause of polio was unknown. Cause of cancer was unknown. Now we know what the causes are, all right? A mystery cannot be solved. It is something beyond comprehension.
But can't most things be understood and resolved with enough time?
Anybody? I would say no. Here's an example. Within the Christian tradition, the incarnation. God becomes a little baby. Yeah, Wrap your mind around that one. I mean, really wrap your... Well, let's back up. Again, in the traditional understanding, the doctrine of the Trinity. C.S. Lewis tried to describe it. He said, think of it as a cube. A cube, and when you look at the cube, it has what? It has three. When you look at a cube, you'll see three sides. You won't see the other three. But, Father, Son, Holy Spirit. What did St. Patrick come up with as the symbol? Come on, the clover, right? 3 lobes, but it's 1 leaf. 3 and 1, 1 and 3. Yeah, but really try to, and even the quote-unquote fathers of the church essentially said, shut up. It's too much. It's beyond comprehension.
It's only if you believe the Trinity is the actual way it works.
Okay, so
what does that root mist actually mean?
unknown.
Unknown.
Okay. So they don't hold to anything like that. So then, if they don't hold to anything like that, what do they hold to?
But I mean, they kind of do. I think they're both strange and
Oh, they're very strange.
like.
Don't get me wrong there.
She spends her time cringing.
But outwardly, they're
But
I mean, if anyone bothered, if anyone in their like social circle actually bothered to look at their nephew and see the way he's treated by them,
okay, let's go with that for a minute. Do we know anything about anyone that they even have a social circle?
no,
And that's one of the things, when I'm saying that she's not a great, she doesn't fill out that detail. Even by the time we get to the 7th book, we're never given any indications that the Dursleys have any friends.
We get
Okay, that's strange.
Dudley has friends.
Dudley has friends, but Petunia and Vernon. He has clients. He has people over for dinner. Why? Because he's trying to sell them something, but not friends per se. All right? So anything that's outside of this, for example, Vernon sees what when he's on his lunch break? He sees freaks down on the street corner wearing cloaks. Okay? Calls them oddballs. Well, that's Daedalus Diggle, by the way. And what does he do? He goes up and shakes him by the hand and says, even you must recognize, what a wonderful day this is. Okay? So, what governs their understanding of reality? How do they view everything in the world? Yes. If they don't hold to any of this, if they are, Olivia, you read it, thoroughly normal, What's important to them?
Social norms.
Social norms? What? What they can see and touch? How do we know what they can see and touch is important to them? What are we going to hear about their kitchen? It's immaculate. What else? They got a big screen TV in their kitchen. Hello? That's an indication of what about them? They're materialists. They've got the top of the line range. That is, they've got the best stove money can buy. All right? The room is immaculate. It's sterile, clean, which says something about them. Germphobes, maybe. They've got the big screen TV in there. Now, that's also where they eat. Think about this for a moment. Big screen TV in the very same room where they eat. What does that say about what used to, at least, maybe it doesn't happen anymore, around the dinner table?
It's not talking, they're not communicating.
Okay. So what does that say about them?
They're all about appearances, and there's no depth.
What's another bit of evidence that we know they're all about appearances?
The kitchen.
What's Petunia do during the days?
She looks over her fence.
She spies on her neighbors. What are they up to? What are they doing? Okay. Everything's out there. There's no interior life, so to speak.
I think it reflects a lot on Petunia because she grew up with something that she didn't understand, and it drove her crazy that she had like this weirdo for a sister. So now she's trying to control everything.
Yeah, but we don't want to quite go there yet. We're going to go there in just a moment. Okay. I mean, I get what you're saying. Okay. So the letters start coming, right? Where do the letters come from?
Everywhere.
Where do they come from?
House.
Okay. Hogwarts. Okay. Harry gets a letter, and he's amazed. He's never had a letter before, but he doesn't get to read it. So Uncle Vernon starts to act a little crazy, right? When should they stop acting crazy and just say, okay, throw up your hands in despair and say, we give?
When all the letters come out from eggs and
They never do. Eggs! I mean, you can understand. Maybe you got some weird postal postman, and he drops letters down the fireplace, throws them through the windows, slides them under the... Okay, I mean, maybe he's psycho.
An army of psychos.
But when you get a couple dozen eggs delivered in the morning, and you crack an egg to make an omelet or to make scrambled eggs, and you find a letter inside each egg,
They may not be wizards, but
that's one hell of a chicken, right? I mean, you talk about the goose that laid the gold. That's...
You start inscribing the chicken.
They don't. Instead, what does he do? He goes even more crazy. So that they're finally out there in the hut on the rock, in the sea.
in the middle of a storm.
In the middle of the storm. And Harry's looking at Dudley's watch as it's dangling, and it turns midnight, and the door gets blown in. Not blown, but blown in
Broken.
by Hagrid. Okay? And what is Hagrid there to explain? Or what does he explain to Harry? And he's like, what? You're a wizard. And a thumping good one, too, once you've been trained up. Why would he be a thumping good one, according to Hagrid? Because of his parents. Were his parents great wizards? They died when they were 21.
To the Dark Lord.
Okay, what are we... Nah, we shouldn't go there yet.
Yeah, but
Their
we
house
learned.
was protected though, so they had some height. It's not like they
But they didn't cast the protection spell. They wouldn't have been able to cast.
I thought they
Well, how well was their house protected when Voldemort came walking right? Don't go there yet. Sorry. Jocelyn, you were going to say something?
Well, we learn about like how they were in schools. Like Lily was the top of the class, and James was a good Quidditch player.
But we're also told James was very good at his studies.
Yeah.
And we're told later on, this isn't giving anything away, what was Lily especially good at?
Charms.
Potions.
Ah, notice that. Charms and potions, because she do charms on people. Okay? Potions, we find out, Anyways,
Oh shit.
so Harry finds out he's a wizard. His parents were killed how? Or his parents were killed not how?
In a car accident.
Because of? Think Aunt Marge. What does she assume? How are they killed and
They
why?
were drunk.
Drunks. Okay, a little bit of projection going on there. So Hagrid explains, you're a wizard, you're going to go off to school. Vernon says no. Hagrid, curses Dudley, gives him a pigtail, literally, kind of, symbolic stuff. Takes Harry off to Diagonal Alley.
Must be correct.
Say it again. Diagonally. Why did I say diagonal alley? Because it was a slip. Because if you say those two words fast together, you get diagonally. So, why is that important?
Because Harry says it wrong.
Okay, what else? Assuming, for the moment, you're all muggles. I don't know that. What would you and I see if we walked down Charing Cross Road and we're looking for the Leaky Cauldron? Because that's where it is, by the way. It's on Charing Cross Road.
An empty.
We wouldn't see it. It would be between a record store and a bookstore, if I remember correctly. Well, I've been up and down Charing Cross Road a dozen times, at least. I've taken students, because when I've done my Harry Potter course in London, the first trip we do is about a 7-mile walking tour. So I say, you better be in good shape. Because we start at London Bridge and then you just walk all the hell over. And we hit a whole bunch of film locations, all right? And at one point I'll say, okay, we're on Charing Cross Road, Leaky Cauldron's down here somewhere. And literally some are like, really? And they try to find it. They go back, well, what are we told? You can't find it, okay? Plus, there is no bookstore next to a record store anywhere on Charing Cross Road. There's lots of record stores and there's lots of bookstores. None of them are next to each other. All right? So, why is that significant? Can any of us see the wizarding world? Are we sure?
Well, we could if we were inside of it because Hermione's parents can see it.
Okay, but what does Hagrid say when he's talking to Harry in the hut? He says, they don't look, talking about muggles, they don't see clearly. Why? Because we look how? Straight on. We don't look diagonally. And she's going to do this later on. Because we're going to hear book 5, in fact. Harry's going to come to this sudden realization. It's going to blow his mind. That Vernon and Petunia have an understanding of the magical world. And it's going to happen in his surgically clean kitchen. He's going to see, this is the kitchen. This is the wizarding world. This is the muggle world. And he's going to see, ooh, they're connected. Only that's not an adequate representation. Because this is what it really looks like. It's the same world. But Harry, at 11 years old, is totally oblivious to that. Okay? So he goes off to Hogwarts, meets the Weasleys. I know we've only got 7 minutes and we're not going to cover all this today. He goes off to Hogwarts, okay, and let's pick up on the train. Who does he meet? Who does he get a cabin with? Ron. Why is that important? Frodo, Sam, sidekick. Okay. Why else? Describe Ron. Let me back up. Who's he meeting? Madame Malkin's in Diagon Alley. Draco Malfoy. Okay. one thing to be aware of, quite a few of the names, not all of them, quite a few of the names are very symbolic. What's Draco's father's name?
Lucius.
And his mother?
Narcissus.
Okay, if that one doesn't give something away.
Alright, that says
Draco,
dragon.
dragon. What's Malfoy? Any French students? Bad faith is what that last name
A
means.
bad big dragon. I mean, guys.
It's not bad faith. It's not faith in the Malfoys. It's their faith. It's bad. It's misdirected. Okay? Who is their bad faith in?
He who must not be named.
Look at that name. What's it mean?
Something of death.
It's got three elements to it. Vol, from Latin volare, to fly or flee. De, which means out or away from death. To fly or flee from death.
That's what he did.
Okay? Well, why does he fly or flee from death? We're not told until the end. It's because he's afraid of it. Okay? He's afraid to die. And yet we're going to hear Dumbledore say at the end of this book, what about death? Anybody know?
Or was the next adventure?
Death is but the next great adventure. But only to certain people. To those with well-organized minds. Death is but the next great adventure. In other words, death isn't an end. Have any of you read, and I'll stop with this. Have any of you read Philip Pullman's, his Dark Materials trilogy?
Yeah.
Golden Compass is the first one, also called Northern Lights. Okay. Golden Compass, Amber Spyglass, Subtle Knife, that order. Okay. The phrase "his dark materials," it's a quotation, comes from John Milton's Paradise Lost. All right. And what Pullman is doing here is he's rewriting kind of Paradise Lost from the perspective of a supporter of Satan. I don't mean a Satanist, all right? Because I'm going to give away something. Because what you have in the final book, the Subtle Knife, is the death of God. That is, the God, as Pullman kind of realizes him, is killed. For the simple reason that he doesn't fit the ideological framework. And what do I mean by that? Pullman wrote this because he detested C.S. Lewis's Chronicles of Narnia. I mean, he says this in multiple interviews. His father and grandfather, I think his father, definitely his grandfather, were both Anglican priests. Okay, so he was raised in the church. All right. Well, he detested Lewis's Chronicles of Narnia because particularly of one thing. What happens to Susan? The free-thinking daughter of or sister of the four, who in Lewis's Chronicles of Narnia doesn't end up in Narnia at the end because she's too busy playing with makeup and lipstick and stockings and dates and stuff. Okay? Though Lewis said in a letter, it's not that she doesn't end up in Narnia. It's just that she's not there at the last battle. He implies Susan does eventually go to Narnia heaven. Why? Because she gets her head screwed back on right. That is, she realizes makeup and lipstick and all that aren't ultimately what's important. Well,
It's like, you don't judge people based off of their
Pullman's whole thesis behind all of this is when we die, that's it. You dissolve. Your ions, all the stuff that make you up, just dissolve. You have no soul. no consciousness to speak of. That is merely an electrochemical reaction in the brain. Now, the first book, this one, when this came out, I got an advance copy somehow. I don't remember how. I mean, it was like a galley version of it. And I was like, oh my God, this is great. I thought he was the next Tolkien. And I just ate it up. I did a couple conference presentations on it. Where is he going to go? Because we didn't know where he was going to go. Next book was also really good. Not quite as good, but fully realized world. I mean, very Tolkien-esque. Third book, I'll warn you right now, if you've never read it and you're going to, it's entirely propaganda, sadly, because he's a fantastic writer. The story takes second position to the ideological argument. And I mean, the ideological argument is like a sledgehammer. You cannot escape it. I literally, because I taught the series in several fantasy lit courses, I had students, because I would say, I'm not going to say anything about the third book until you finish it entirely. And I did that, and we came in, we skipped a couple periods, came in and said, now what'd you think? And unanimously, why did you make us read this? This is horrible compared to the other two books, right? Why did I go there? Fear of death. What's Voldemort's fear of death?
He's going to turn into ions.
It's not that he's going to turn into ions. That's the thing.
It's that he won't.
It's kind of like Hamlet. It's the fear of the undiscovered country from whose bourne no one returns. I don't know what's out there. Okay? Which, not Gandalf, not Plato, Dumbledore is going to pick up on.
Plato.
He's going to say, it's very Platonic. You're going to see why I said Plato when we come back on Thursday. Okay, so Thursday, bring this and Chamber of Secrets and your exam. And your exam. Stapled, no separate color cover page, no silly plastic folders. I'll just throw them away, so don't waste the money on it.
Did the essay for Thursday get posted?